covering the world of professional wrestling from coast to coast. A show by members of the Busted Open Nation. Welcome to the Nation's Corner. Here are your hosts, the Nation's Corner crew.
What's up, pro wrestling fans? Welcome to the Nation's Corner. I am Front Row, and joining me this week, the greatest truck driver of all time, Tony Justice, and Debhausen, the great and powerful. What's up, people?
What's happening? Touch blue, you owe me a Coke. Touch blue. Touching blue.
Yeah, I got one for you right here.
What's going on, man?
Well, we got an exciting week. There's a ton of stuff that happened in wrestling this week. We're going to try to cover everything we can in the first half of the show, and then later on in the show, we've got a special guest tonight. We've got Mission Pro Wrestling co-owner Brian Cervantes is going to join us, talking all things Mission Pro and the upcoming pay-per-view Hard Days Night, which is just next weekend on the 20th. So let's dive right into it. There is a lot happened this week on both major brands. I know there was other stuff going on with Impact. I think GCW has a pay-per-view tonight. But let's focus on, I want to continue the conversation from last week. We started talking about the changes that we're seeing in the game era and the Triple H regime, as far from a creative standpoint. There's a lot going on in the world of WWE. We recently saw Karrion Kross and Scarlett return. We saw a big return this week, which I want to talk about in Hit Row, and other stars are starting to come back and are rumored to return. So what are some of the big things that you guys are seeing that are hinting at Triple H's influence?
The biggest things is these certain wrestlers that are either returning or being more focused on the Karrion Kross, Ciampa, Nakamura, Shayna. You know, we're seeing certain people that are definitely getting a good push because they are people that Triple H believes in, whereas Vince might not have. Dexter Lumis returned. Thank you. My mind. The situation with Dexter Lumis and that random car accident in the background, you know, that is keeping us thinking. And just little things like Ronda's promo, like Shayna's promo, just little things like that definitely point to a shift in the line of thinking, a shift in like the focus of the on-screen product. What do you think, Tony?
Yeah, we're definitely seeing some surprises, you know, that are actually surprises. Like you didn't hear about it in any dirt sheet or anything like that. It was like legit. When Karrion Kross came out last week, we were shocked. And then this week, Hit Row, it's like Triple H is slowly but surely bringing things back that had his stamp on it. And the Viking Raiders, I feel like, are getting shown in the right light now.
Yeah.
They're being displayed the way they should be, and that's all thanks to Triple H. So I just like the fact that he's focusing on a lot more of the things that he believed in. He believed in them for a reason, and now we're finally getting to see it. And with everything else that's happened, also, you know, Shayna Baszler is going to have a title match, which is deserving. Because how long have we been saying, you know, dang, I wish Shayna Baszler was just the way she used to be in NXT. I mean, she needs to be a killer, and now we're finally seeing that. So, and like you mentioned, the backstage vignettes that they've had, where you've had the things going on camera, but then behind the scenes, that you're having to look behind what's actually happening here and seeing what's going on behind over here, which is cool. You know, and that is a common thread. It was a common thread last on Raw. So it's just, it's just awesome to see this. You know, finally I watched Raw the entire 3 hours again.
Me too.
And and SmackDown is just as interesting. So, let's go.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. And I want to just give a shout out to our Mission Pro Wrestling family out in the chat. We are excited for Hard Day's Night. We're going to talk about that later in the show with Brian. There's a pretty cool card, and I saw some additional video today that we are definitely going to talk about with Simon Miller and JP Harlow. But as far as the changes, it's even beyond just the NXT influence, because we saw Dolph Ziggler and Chad Gable have like a legit
Oh my
wrestling.
God.
Like, they started out, the first 4 or 5 minutes of that match was true mat wrestling, amateur wrestling, and the back and forth. It was fast paced. It was very athletic. It was very sports like. It didn't feel like sports entertainment. It felt like two guys who knew how to really truly wrestle, and it was very exciting.
Yeah.
But Tony, to your point about the Shayna Baszler stuff, we're starting to see the NXT champion Shayna Baszler, and we're going to talk about, actually, let's just jump to it right now. The stuff that they did on SmackDown with Ronda's return, and then Shayna coming back out. Ronda comes back, drops a bag of money on the table and says, "Hey, I can afford
Here's your
this.
fine."
Being bad's expensive. I can afford it." And basically letting the crowd know that heel Ronda's back, which is awesome. But I've been really excited to see Shayna return, like actually return in her true form. And the stuff that she said on the mic, her little, her interaction with Ronda at the top of the ramp, and then attacking Liv in the ring. What was interesting about that is Liv showed up injured. So you have the champion not at 100%. So, of course, Shayna takes advantage of that. But then Liv takes one moment to just kind of get that one spot through the table, but she sold like $1 million. Like, the whole segment worked on a bunch of different levels, and I feel like that I didn't feel like it was thrown together just to take up TV time. It advanced several storylines, 3 really. Liv, Shayna, and Ronda all took a step forward from a story perspective, and everything made sense. But I did want to ask you guys. So you guys both mentioned it, and it was a big thing that we talked about when we were watching on Zoom, like the stuff in the background. They never explained it. There was the first scene, there was a car that had crashed into a barricade or something, and the Nikki ASH and Dewdrop were just sort of standing around staring at it. And there were people milling about, sort of trying to figure stuff out. And then later we saw in the background again, they were towing it away. And as they were towing it away, security or medical personnel, I couldn't quite tell who it was, went running by. It was security. Okay, so they went running by. Now, were they running by to go get Dexter Lumis? If so, like, that doesn't explain the car. Like, what was the car doing there? So those are those little Easter eggs that we're going to get going forward.
Yeah, and they say so often on Busted Open, and Bully says it specifically, that a lot of the times Raw and SmackDown is you open the book at the beginning of the show, you close the book at the end of the show. Like, the shows are sort of independent from each other. They don't have a ton of like carryover where you're like, oh wait, I want to see what happens next because they didn't explain that part. There's not a lot of cliffhangers anymore, but this was like one hell of an interesting cliffhanger.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And there was other things too, like and I was, okay, so as an old school fan, a lot of us are big fans of the Intercontinental Championship. Deb, I know you are. There it is. Yeah. And so to see Gunther and Shinsuke Nakamura have an IC title match in the main event of SmackDown on Fox was amazing in and of itself, but the match was friggin' killer. Like, Mark Henry said on the show on Busted Open this morning that Shinsuke is reputed as being like one of those guys that you have to fire up. You have to get him in the right mood, which may not be the right term, but Shinsuke has to be like in that right zone to bring his, and he did in a big way. And for folks that are paying attention, Shinsuke came out to his full NXT entrance wearing black and gold.
Yep.
Which I thought was awesome.
I was happy to see that. I've been thinking for like a while that Nakamura was such a waste. He was so good in NXT. Of course, he has the whole history in Japan. But yeah, it's like we lost him there for a while, and now I think we're getting him back.
Yep, I would agree. So there's a lot to look forward to in WWE. They have the Clash at the Castle coming up. There's a 6-woman tag as Alexa, Asuka, and Bianca versus Bailey, Io Sky, and Dakota Kai, which would probably be a really good match.
Yeah.
I don't know where they're going with that, but I do know that they announced the women's tag team championship tournament, and we did see a few matches this week towards that. We saw Io and Dakota beat Tamina and Dana Brooke, which was to be expected. So I'm going to be interested to see how they do that. And there was rumors swirling about that maybe Sasha and Naomi will come back. I have no idea. Like, I haven't heard anything definitive one way or the other. But
yeah,
the question is, do they need them right now? I don't know.
I think in order to maybe revitalize the tag teams a little bit more, you need these teams.
Right.
Yeah, and the
I
vignettes,
wholeheartedly
yes,
agree with
Money
that.
Mark, the vignettes that they've been doing to kind of elevate the IC title and the US title have been fantastic. Show the history of it, let fans know, why they're important titles, why they're prestigious, and why somebody should, feel honored to have that belt.
Right.
Yeah. So, and that brings me to my question around the main title scene. We see Drew McIntyre and his interactions with Roman Reigns. We see Karrion Kross in the picture now. Drew, maybe not so much, but Karrion Kross to me is a guy that's a legit threat to Roman. The NXT version of Karrion Kross is a threat to Roman. I think that's the version that we're seeing back now.
Yeah.
Is it possible that they take one of those titles, that Karrion Kross defeats Roman for one of those titles down the road? Or is the goal to carry those titles all the way to WrestleMania?
Well, first of all, I think they should keep the titles unified. I don't see why in the world they should separate the titles again. But yeah, I think Roman has it for a little while longer. Probably till WrestleMania. I don't think he loses it quite yet.
Yeah, it's of course, I want to see the titles stay unified, but it doesn't make sense for them to have the men's world championships unified while they don't have the women's titles unified. They're still carrying around both belts. So it's just disjointed when it comes to all that. And then you have possible storylines with Cody being there, Cody being a credible guy to take the championship or one of the championships off of Roman. And, of course, you have Drew. And then you have, the Karrion Kross involvement now. Yes, he just came back. Yes, I think there needs to be some story being told to insert him into any title picture. I'm glad to see him back, though. But it's kind of like a double-edged sword because, people have been hollering for having the titles unified for some time now. But it's just like what I think is they need to go all in with it if they're going to do that, and not just half-ass it with the men.
Yeah, I think get rid of the Universal. Like, there's no reason why they should be carrying around 2 belts if they're unified.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to get rid of the Universal title though, because that's the one with the streak he has going right now, and I don't think. So here's the problem: Roman has that streak going with the Universal title. Cody has made a play for the WWE World title. So if you take one title off of Roman now, it would be the Universal title, but then that kills the streak that they have going on, and they're trying to build him to, bigger numbers.
Yeah.
So, and I've never been a big fan of unifying the titles, only from the perspective of you've got 2 shows on 2 networks, and one person has both titles and isn't working both shows every week. I don't know. It just seems when Brock had the title and he wasn't on TV, and we all understand that's the booking. That has nothing to do with Brock as a person.
Mm-hmm.
But it took away from building equity into the title when someone isn't on TV. Now I don't get that feeling from Roman, because Roman has built an enormous amount of equity in both of those titles. But if you have very few credible threats to him and you're going to drag it out too long, how do you fill that time? how do you feel? Like, it's months and months between now and WrestleMania. What are they going to do
Yeah.
with Roman for the next 7 months?
Yeah, but I also don't think, like, if you have too many championships, we've seen how it watered it down. Plus, also, if you only get to see the champion have a match, at the biggest events, it makes it more special. Not saying he doesn't have to be on the show at all. He could, be doing vignettes or promos or just, something else to hold the time until the next match. But it makes it more special that way. I don't think he needs to be featured on every single show in the first segment and the last segment.
Yeah, so from a bloodline perspective, how did you feel about the Usos getting beaten down by Drew McIntyre and then coming out looking like nothing had happened in the same show?
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I think they could have been selling a little bit because, Drew beat the hell out of them and Sami Zayn took off running.
Yeah.
Which I
Right.
still like that. I like the Sami Zayn involvement. And I would love to see Sami Zayn. I'd love to see Sami Zayn win the 24/7 title and show up and say, hey, I'm a title holder too. Like, I'm also holding gold. Like, I think that'd be funny.
Yeah, I do like Sammy with the bloodline, but I think the bloodline needs to remain strong. Like, I don't think they need to, be beaten up right now. I didn't like that part.
And shout out to Guido in the chat. Guido suggests that Roman doesn't need a title at WrestleMania and that match should be the legit head of the table against The Rock. The only problem is, and I love The Rock. I'm a huge fan of The Rock. But he's such a star now and he has such a schedule that if he comes back, it's going to be for one show. He's not coming back for a run. He's not coming back for a title run. So, and if he's only coming back for a limited time and the match is for the head of the table, well, you know how that's going to end. So, I don't know. I would like to see a better story told.
Yeah. I mean, we can see. I think there's a story that can be told about it. It just has to be done the right way.
Yeah.
Yeah, now, if The Rock's involved somehow to put Roman over as the head of the table, I'm all in. That's fine. He doesn't have to wrestle a match. I don't actually need to see The Rock ever wrestle again. If he shows up and does something at Mania, awesome. If he shows up for a couple episodes of Raw, whatever, that's terrific. But I don't need to see him have a match. Like, he's already done everything I need to see him do.
I would like to see at least something in the ring. Maybe not a full-on match, but with how great he has been looking lately, like, I want to see that version of The Rock in the ring.
He's enormous. He's a huge...
Yes.
That's what she said. But I think that
Sir,
if The Rock comes back to have that match with Roman, in my opinion, I believe that The Rock should put Roman over because Roman is the current superstar.
Mm-hmm.
That would be the same thing like we complain about where they always bring the legends back. Always bring the legends back. Okay, well, it's time to pump your current superstar, raise them. Because I believe that if The Rock puts Roman over, Roman's already over, way over than I ever expected him to be.
Right.
Since he's changed his character now, but The Rock put him over in that head of the table match at WrestleMania. If that's what happens, then you're going to see The Rock even more, up to another level. And he's already on a high level now. So, I mean, that's what I think should happen. And that's just my opinion. I mean, y'all might disagree with me in the chat or whatever. If you do, please, type in the chat how you feel about that. Should The Rock, if he was to come back, should The Rock put Roman over or should The Rock go over in that type of match?
And Ashley has a good point. Ashley has a good point. There's nothing wrong with The Rock coming back to put over Roman. The problem that I have with it is it's extraordinarily predictable, and I don't want to watch WrestleMania already knowing how the main event's going to end, right? I want to feel like whoever's challenging Roman or whoever's in that main event match, it should be questionable, and this is the problem that I think that they're going to have, and Triple H will figure out a way out of this, but as it stands right now, Brock Lesnar beat the absolute shit out of Roman Reigns. He dropped him out of a front end loader. He tipped the ring up. Like, I mean, it was just thing after thing after thing. And Brian's in the chat. And so, like, when you're going nose to toes with a guy like Brock Lesnar and you still win, like what's left? Like what else can they possibly come up with that's a bigger threat than what he just went through at SummerSlam? I don't know.
Right. We'll see.
Yeah, and what I want to know, Front Row, is how come you have not sent that appearance fee yet?
Well, I don't have his Venmo. He's got to send me the
Oh,
Venmo.
that's the problem. That was the problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he didn't send me any
Understandable.
payment information. I'll get it to him, but you know.
All right,
So-
can we talk about AEW real quick before we bring Brian in?
Last thing real quick, and I'll make it quick. The Maximum Male Model stuff is terrible.
Oh,
It's
yeah, no.
fucking terrible.
Yeah, get that out
All
of
right.
here. You hear that, Triple H? Get that out of there.
Do something else. Eli Drake's too talented.
Yeah. All right, so Dynamite. We got the first match of the night. We got the coffin match with Darby and Brody. And then the last match of the night was the championship match between Jericho and Moxley. We saw a ton of carnage in both of those matches. What were you guys' opinion on that?
Tony, you go first.
Well, my honest opinion on the first one is that I didn't see it yet because I had come on late because I was still driving.
That's right.
But I had heard some stuff about it, and I heard that I am going to go back and watch it. But I will comment on the last match because that's what I was present for. I enjoyed seeing Chris Jericho come out as Lionheart. Chris Jericho. I mean, it took me back to seeing Chris Jericho live as Lionheart, and how entertaining he was, and just innovative in the ring with his style of wrestling. And Chris Jericho is in great shape today. Thought he pulled that off very well. Something that I'm curious about, though, did you see his tweet after the match saying that he lost the match? That didn't sound like a heel to me. That wasn't a heel tweet. And I'm kind of wondering, what are we getting from Chris Jericho going forward? The Jericho Appreciation Society is a fairly new faction. I mean, it's only been around a few months.
Yeah.
And for Jericho to put that out like that just seemed to me like a turning point, in his attitude or something. I don't know. I mean, I might be overlooking it, or looking too much into it rather. But the match itself was awesome. And of course, you get the return of CM Punk, which was amazing. Wasn't expecting him back this quick, but I'm glad that he's back because now we get to tell that story, build that match between him and Mox for possibly All Out.
Yeah.
What do you think, Front Row?
Yeah, I think so. For the two matches, I actually preferred the first match over the second match, only because, and I've been saying for months, I think that AEW overuses blood. I think that it's fine in a match where it makes sense, but where there's gratuitous blood, but also too much of it.
Wait.
Gratuitous. Sorry.
Gratuitous?
Shout out to Bully. It's gratuitous. Like it made sense in the first match because Darby had a skateboard with thumbtacks on it. Like that's going to cause damage. I have an earring that's like tiny. This is the same exact size and style earring that Jericho pulled out of Mox. It doesn't cause the level of blood that we saw mere moments after that earring was taken out, and you can see that he just opened it up and took it. So like I have to be able to suspend disbelief. Jericho got split open like for real here, and that's that was a legit injury. And whether that was intended or not, I don't care. It just made sense to me that the type of bleeding that you saw was from a wound like that. But some of the stuff that they do, and we talked about it last week and weeks before, sometimes people roll out of the ring, come back all bloody, and you're like, well, what happened? Like you fell.
Right.
How did you get all bloody?
Yeah. That would be my only gripe, really, is that kind of thing. Like if you're completely okay and you roll out of the ring and you come up a bloody mess and nothing happened and you're like, what? Like, how did he get hurt? Otherwise, I tend to have a different opinion than you on that, just because I'm not bothered by the blood. I think it adds a lot of excitement to the product. I think it it adds a little bit of like, the train wreck. You want to look away, but you don't want to look away kind of thing. I'm not like, I don't have children. I'm not watching this with kids. I really don't care about a child-friendly product. I'm sorry, I don't. So, in the immortal words of Mongrovian Mike, let them bleed.
Get off my lawn. No, but like, and this is to the point, right? Okay, Jericho, got his head slammed into exposed. Okay, so that makes sense. Like, I understand why he would get, busted open.
Yeah.
I understand that. Some of the other stuff that doesn't make sense, they need to be more careful about. I don't have a problem with bleeding as long as it makes sense for the match. But you don't need to see it 2 or 3 matches a night. Like, make it special.
Yeah.
And if I had to pick one, the thing is like Moxley bleeds every match. Like,
he loves it.
Match. It doesn't need to be every match, but
yeah.
Yeah. So, but I actually like the first match more just because I like the styles clash between Darby and Brody, like the size differential, the style of fight.
Oh my God.
Different. And I've become, and I know you've been a big Darby fan, and I wasn't initially, but over the last like 4 to 6 months, he's wrestled some different styles. And
Yes.
I've seen him do a lot of interesting things from a psychology perspective. I'm becoming a bigger fan every month of some of the different things he's doing.
For sure.
Yeah,
Right.
I am too.
So we have our special guest in the green room. I hope he had a snack while he was there.
See, we don't have a DJ or someone that could play his entrance music, so I have to do it.
I don't want to get copyright problems. No. So let's bring in.
You think the guy that wrote Monkeys versus Donkeys is going to come after us for copyright?
Really? I think he's actually dead. Probably not, but YouTube will, because they do.
Yeah, that's true.
So let's bring in Mission Pro Wrestling co-owner, big part of the Nation's Corner crew, and one of our good friends, Brian Cervantes. What's up, Brian?
Hey, what's up?
Brian?
I'm representing.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes, sir. Love it.
I'm starting to get in a little shape so it fits right and looks good.
I see you've been in the gym, you've been eating right, been eating healthy, getting your walks in.
Yep.
Actual salads now? Real salads?
Yeah, let's say that. Well, at least to get the exercise part in. I'm trying. Baby steps,
Yeah.
Good.
I appreciate you jumping on. I know you got a busy schedule. You've got so much going on week leading up to the pay-per-view. I'm sure there's a million things going on.
Yeah.
But we wanted to catch up with you. I think maybe not everybody on the show or folks who watch the show know as much about you as we do, because we spend a lot of time together. So I wanted to just sort of dive into when did you start in wrestling? When did you start actually working in wrestling? I know you've been a fan for a very long time, but what was your start in the business?
I started helping out shows in Northern California probably around 2012, maybe 11. We were going to shows, and I was volunteering, doing security, doing any way that I could help. I would ask, can I help break down the ring? Can I just learn? I remember doing camera work for AEW, and just listen to the bookers and the promoters. If they needed a ride, I would take the promoters and just pick their ears and like how to run shows. And you got to watch a lot of I got to see a lot of bad shows, so I learned a lot from the bad shows and the good shows. Just pretty much just getting my hand dirty in any form necessary. And then about 2015, I think it was, we decided, to start our own promotion. And from there, we ran Sabotage Wrestling for about 3 years, maybe 4. We gave that up, then we started Mission Pro Wrestling back in 2019, I think it was.
Cool.
Yeah, so we've been running Mission Pro ever since.
Yes,
That's
I remember
awesome.
you guys actually have an anniversary show coming up. I think September 17th, 3-year anniversary, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. I know we've been sponsoring. I think we missed the first show, but every show since then.
Yeah.
So we're proud sponsors, of course. So what was the thought process in in deciding to make Mission Pro Wrestling a women's promotion?
Well, when the Speak Out movement happened, there was a lot of like concerning things that were brought up, and like a lot of injustices that happened for women, and I kind of just put it out there to my wife and said, like, why don't we give the women their own platform, And I'm not just talking about just like just the wrestlers but like all referees, all camera women, all the booker, everything, like have the women run their own show to have a safe space. Even to this day, I don't allow any men in the back of the locker room and stuff like that where the women are at. And that was always a concern, for a lot of women going to being booked on shows, that there would always be one women's match, and you'd have like a locker room full of 30 guys, and they're all sitting there changing in front of the women without a safe space for them to change, or they got to see stuff they don't want to see. So I thought it was a good opportunity. I brought it up to my wife, and she was like, what? And then at first she was like hesitant, but then we ran with it, and it just seemed like it was a good idea to like give the women a platform like that. Now we see like more women's promotions popping up, giving opportunities for, we got CCW, there's promotions in Vegas, WOW's just starting. China's been running for a long time too. So it's good to see a lot more women's promotions popping up. Unfortunately, Shimmer's not running anymore, but just more opportunities for females to get bookings without just having to be the only match on the card.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and there's the old saying that like women's wrestling doesn't sell, but obviously if you have multiple promotions doing big things across the country and around the world, then obviously it does. We've seen you guys have some incredible shows. You were on Fight TV during WrestleMania weekend for the GCW Collective weekend, which was a huge success. That was an amazing show. We were all watching, and some of the folks that are watching this show were there in person. So what does it mean to you to see other promotions sort of popping up? Do you consider them competition, or are they folks that you're going to work with or partner with?
No, I don't really see them as competition. I mean, sometimes you might think like, well, they're doing the same thing we are, and it makes it harder to like come up with different stuff, but it's always good to see like more opportunities for women to wrestle. So that's, in the end, you can think of them as competition, but it's just giving more opportunities. And like Maria, I forgot to mention one. Maria Canales was with the Women's Wrestling Army.
Yes.
She's been helping out a lot of the promotions too. So I think that you have to put your egos aside and try to work together as much as possible to like better the sport in general. So
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
One thing I want to
mention
mention
is competition, unless they're copying our ideals word for word for word.
Right.
Right. One thing I'd like to mention, back in the Attitude Era, and anytime a women's match would come on or anything dealing with the women, it was always, bra and panty stuff, or they'd be in the ring for a match and it'd be a bathroom break or a chance to go into the kitchen to get something to eat, to come back for the rest of the card. That isn't the same these days. Today, especially at Mission Pro Wrestling, because I've been there, I've seen it live with my own eyes. Those women, they want it. And they put on the matches that are better than the men's, in my opinion. I've seen some bangers live there at Mission Pro, and just y'all echo the way women would like to be perceived today, because now you can turn on the TV, AEW, you can turn on and see women just killing it. Granted, they're not getting the spotlight they deserve, in some instances, but you're rest assured that you go to a Mission Pro show, you're going to see damn good wrestling, in my opinion. And I know I speak for a lot of us that feel the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'll say it in a minute.
So I just want to like comment on something you said about like not seeing the other promotions as competition, working together. I've been kind of talking about this idea recently that we're kind of seeing like a new era of like a territory system with independent promotions across the country. Like so many wrestlers are kind of popping back and forth between different companies, and with the internet we have, you know, the availability to watch different promotions across the country, not just your local stuff. So, you know, in the old territory days, I probably would have never known of something like Mission Pro in Texas because I'm up here in Pennsylvania. But now we have this cool system coming up, like that's really developing this year, of, you know, different companies sort of working together and not trying to really be competition. But we see Kylan King at Mission Pro. We see her all over the country, everywhere. And I just think that's really great right now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just think that's a really
NWA
good thing
also,
right now,
but
especially
they
for the women.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, yeah, women's wrestling's coming a long way, but I still think it needs a lot of work in as far as how they present it and respect it a little bit, you know, especially in the mainstream. One company I think that does a really good job on it is Impact Wrestling, you know. I would like to see, you know, and WWE does a good job, you know, for the most part. But I would like to see other companies, you know, step their game up and really like provide platforms for women and give them opportunities. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what WoW is going to present, you know, in the upcoming months. So that should be interesting. You know.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing because, you know, whatever you might read online about WoW, they've had some, you know, some shakeups behind the scenes and stuff. But from what I understand, they're debuting in September, and I'm going to check it out because a lot of the people that are now involved there, you know, I'm a fan of a lot of those folks. So they've gotten rid of some people and added some more people, and I'm excited for it. So we'll see what they have to present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the other thing I wanted to mention too, and we've had a lot of folks on this show, and we've had interactions with a lot of wrestlers at different shows, and the constant thread, whether we talk to people in NWA or WWE or AEW or whoever we talk to, Mission Pro is regarded as one of the best places to work for women, one of the safest, most fun locker room. There's a clear leadership there, and folks feel like they're being presented properly. And to that point, and I've told this story on the air before, but when we were at Locked and Loaded, back, it was our first show back after the pandemic. It was the first show we attended anyway. And we get to sit with Ryan McKinnell and Mark Henry and watch Genocide and Holodead have a match that would be great on any pay-per-view, any company, any night. And I'm like, F yeah, like this is what I'm talking about. Like this is what Mission Pro is all about, but this is what women's wrestling is all about. And we've seen a ton of matches like that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like we always try to provide a platform for the women to be able to express themselves and do, you know, comfortable matches. That's why we have we always try to make sure we have a good locker room, you know. So if we have problems in the locker room, we try to resolve them. If not, we just don't bring those people back because we always want to make sure that it's a safe and fun environment. You know, sometimes it can be a little stressful when you're trying to rush to put a show together and things like that. But that kind of stuff happens. But we always try to make sure that for the most part, you know, it's everything is in order, organized, and ran to the T, to where it's like we try to run it like it's a TV show.
Yeah.
You know, even though we're not a TV show, but you know, I do think we are because YouTube is still TV, you know, and we're on title match and people are watching live, and it's kind of like you're watching TV. So we always want to make sure we run on time, run a good show, keep the women safe, and have a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that brings up an interesting point, because if you have weekly episodic TV, you have the luxury of telling storylines week after week. You have the advantage of telling stories week after week after week. You guys are a pay-per-view model, so without weekly television, how do you and you do a really good job at this, and I'll cite some examples in a minute, but how do you plan out these long storylines with so many different and interesting characters?
Well, I mean, it's really hard because we're always at the mercy of everyone's schedule, you know. So, like, I think in September, I think WoW is actually taping the same time we are, so we might lose a few people. So, some ideals that you have to kind of improvise and turn you know. But it's always good to have like 12 plans. If something happens, we've had cards announced on the show, and then those people didn't show up the day of the show, and like we had to like switch stuff. But we always try to make it tie into something that makes sense. Like with the Jasmine and the twin stories, and the Holodead with the Jasmine, and there's a lot of interchangeable moving parts. So we're like, if one story falls apart because a book, someone's hurt or injured or something, we can go to this story. Right. So I think it's good to have layers ready to go. Yeah. So that way, you're not just like, oh crap, here we go. Like, let's just put this random match together. That means nothing,
Yeah,
exactly.
So sometimes you have those, but we try to like tell a story with those and then move forward with a future story maybe.
Yeah, another big component of Mission Pro that always impressed me, and Kayla Sparks was just on Busted Open this week, was the diversity and inclusion in the locker room and throughout the company. We've seen everyone from the LGBTQ community. It's all cultures represented. Is that something that you're conscious of when you're planning out shows?
Oh yeah, most definitely. From the beginning, from when Robin Reed was the booker, we always, like, it's not like you're looking and say who is who, but you always try to make sure, like, well, we don't want everyone looking the same. Let's get
right
different colors of the spectrum, or different, like we were originally only going to be a female promotion, but now we kind of included men too, so people don't get offended, like, so we have JP on there from time to time, or unfortunately he's on there all the time.
JP.
Maybe JP is the wrong guy to have if you don't want people to be offended.
But
come for it.
We try to look up all throughout the spectrum and give everyone an opportunity. That way, we, not that we ever want negativity towards us, like, oh, you're not booking the right type of people, but like, it is a subconscious effort to try to make sure that that's done.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So when we watch the Mission Pro live streams, there's this thing called the Brian Bomb. Brian will drop some news in the chat. Well, Mission Pro Wrestling's dropping in the chat. On the show on the 17th of September in San Antonio, that's the anniversary show. Some big surprises. Any hints, Brian?
I don't know what they're talking about, because that's my hands are free. I'm not actually typing that, so.
All right.
But maybe it has to do something with Holodead. I don't know.
Oh well, I'm scared already.
Dead stuff. I don't know.
That's all right. That's frightening. Well, we're going to be watching either way. So there's the evolution of women's wrestling. Are there, I know you're a big fan of old school wrestling, especially with some of the Japanese wrestling. Are there specific people specific women that have played a part in influencing how you tell stories in your show?
As far as like from the past?
Yeah, legends from the past.
I wouldn't say anyone specifically, but we just always try to, we've had Medusa on our show. We've had Jazz working with us before. We've had a lot of people influence us on, because I've only been in the business since like 2012, 13. So I don't know everything. So, taking someone like Jazz or Rodney Mack and other people who've come and given us advice has always helped. So it's kind of like picking apart everyone that comes through the door and learning something from each individual that they, it's you're always kind of trying to do that, so you keep evolving and improving your product.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Deb?
Yeah, and I think it's good to have those like veteran voices there that can help, because you have so much younger talent there. Someone like Medusa being there, giving them advice is going to help them for their careers.
Yeah. Having Jazz, personally, I've gotten to meet Jazz a few times, and just seeing how busy she is, seeing her at a Mission Pro show behind the scenes, she is all over the place. Her fingerprints are all over things over there, and it's just awesome to see how someone that was kind of overshadowed in WWE when she was there, and she kind of came out at the wrong time, in my opinion. And she, now she's getting to pass her knowledge on to women coming up, and it's just amazing to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to give you guys your flowers too, because you always talk about Mission Pro Wrestling being a platform to help shine a spotlight on new talent or elevate people to the next level. And just a short list of people who have come through the doors of Mission Pro. You have Cora Jade and Zoe Stark and Masha Slamovich and Savannah Evans and Roxy, who's Roxanne, Kylan King, Genocide, Sky Blue, and the list goes on and on of people who have come and performed at a high level in Mission Pro, have maybe gotten eyes on them and have gone on to do bigger things or, and have more opportunities. And that's really based in large part to the opportunities that you guys have given them.
Yeah, I mean, they wrestle for other promotions, so I don't want to take all the credit for it, but we have had people come and watch our shows that, specifically looking for talent, and then, they have talked to us about those talent and, ask our opinions about them. So, like, yeah, I mean, it is exciting and very, it's like kind of like watching your child go off to college or something, or, get a real job or something like that. It's always exciting to see that. And at the same time, it sucks because you don't have that talent anymore. But, that's where you try to look for new talent and try to develop somebody else. And it's always exciting because in independent wrestling, you don't really have anybody that's good for a long time because they're always going to be moving on up,
Right.
So it's like, and you're trying to also get the ones that are not ready to be ready to get out of there. I always tell people like, yeah, I would love you to work for Mission Pro, but that's not the goal. That's not the end goal. We're not there yet. Hopefully we could be there in 5 to 10 years. We're the destination place forever. But, for now, we're always trying to get them to get the opportunity at a NWA, Impact, AEW, WWE, wherever, and that's the goal. Is always trying to, provide the women with tools to get there.
Yeah. 100%. I just got to call this out in the chat. So Mission Pro posts, head over to the YouTube channel for an exclusive interview with JP and Simon. And I mentioned early in the show, I did watch that today. Okay, so we need to dive into this card for Hard Day's Night, because this Simon and JP story has been going on for months now, and it's gotten heated to the point where what's interesting to me about this story is typically in wrestling, you'll have the bad guy foreigner coming and attacking the good guy American. Well, in this case, you've got JP, who's kind of an asshole, representing the country. He's not representing everybody in the country, by the way. I'm not included in whatever.
I think he only represents Mongrovian Mike. That's it.
I don't know. I like the heels. I'm rooting for JP.
He is a man. So.
Oh, and Chad too. He represents Chad too.
I don't think anybody represents Chad. I love Chad. But Simon Miller, he's done a lot of stuff. He's been in the ring. He's got a big presence over in the UK. This is going to be an interesting matchup. The story that they've been telling leading up to this is really compelling. And so how did this whole thing get started? I know that he was on the Taco Vlog, but, how did this get started with him getting an invite?
JP, I mean, Simon Miller.
Simon, yeah.
It was just when he was, we were in Dallas and he was having the he was doing the taco vlog with Thunder, and we were all behind the scenes, and we were like, hey, would you like to wrestle for us? Would you like to come? I know he wrestles in England, and that got cut short because he was really just getting started before COVID happened, and then and then when we told him, and he was like, yeah, that'd be fun. And I think the next week he broke his hand or something. So I was like, oh, crap.
That's right.
So not that it's funny, but that, he wanted that opportunity to come and wrestle for us. And then I don't know where JP got involved. JP got jealous or something because he wasn't on the taco vlog. But, JP was spending all of his time eating Taco Bell all the time. So I don't think he wanted to be tacos with Thunder Rosa. So, we have to talk to JP and find out what's really going on in his head.
Yeah, you're never going to win any points with Taco Bell.
Yeah. I mean, if you have the choice between good burrito tacos and Taco Bell, I mean, why would you ever choose Taco Bell?
I don't know.
Well, we were in Texas not that long ago, and we did get to see JP in action against David Ali, and some of the stuff that they were doing in the interviews with Candice Cordelia were really good, really compelling. And as much as I dislike JP, I do definitely see a big future for him. He's very good at what he does.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for him.
But, I mentioned storylines and long-term storytelling. Kylan King and Genocide have been a big part of Mission Pro for a long time now. We saw them team up for a little while as Bionic Kingdom, but now we see them in this match against each other. And to me, you've got two big, strong, world-class competitors. This is one of those things. This is one of those matches that could really tear the house down.
Oh, most definitely. This could easily be the best match of the night. I guess I'll throw my little Brian bomb because I don't think it was ever announced that this is actually a #1 contenders match
Oh,
for the Mission Pro title. So
okay.
Mission Pro,
Okay.
you can put it out there. So yeah, they can most definitely steal the show. So I feel sorry for anyone that has to go after them and still work.
For sure.
So that's going to be a tough task ahead.
It's going to be definitely my match of the night. It's the one I'm looking forward to the most, just because those two ladies are badass.
Yeah, and I think they've actually been wrestling each other in other promotions too. So that's going to be interesting to see how this plays out here, especially what's at stake.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like you mentioned earlier, Kylan's got that match at Mission Pro. She's got a match this week with Toni Storm in AEW. She's in I think a battle royal on night 1 of NWA 74, and if she wins that match, she could face the champion on Sunday, whoever is the winner of the Camille and Taya Valkyrie match. So she is all over the place in the next 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. She's a hustler. She's a hard worker.
No doubt.
Not taking anything away from Genocide though.
No, I love me some Genocide, man. I love seeing her beat people up. It's always entertaining. Although she did make me do the muscle pose and when I saw her last time, and it was embarrassing.
Muscle Army.
Okay, but so for the main, for the Mission Pro Wrestling title, we have Holiday as our champion. Okay, and Jasmine Allure is challenging. Jasmine Allure is former champion. She was champion for like a hot minute after she beat La Rosa Negra, and then Holiday cashed in on her. So there's all this animosity built up with Jasmine, who just wants her title back. Do people even call her a champion? Well, technically she is, but are people looking at her as a champion with a legitimate run? And I think she has a claim. However, Holiday is a force of nature. I don't know what Jasmine's chances are here. Deb, Tony, have you guys any thoughts on this one?
Go ahead, Tony.
Hey, you first. Ladies first.
Okay.
By all means.
I think Holiday's definitely taken this one. I don't see Jasmine beating Holiday. I met Jasmine. She's tiny. And I think that Holiday is just gonna toss her around like a rag doll. Like I'm not sure. I'm not sure if there's any way in the multiverse that Jasmine's gonna win this one.
So
I would say don't sleep on Jasmine Allure. Just because she's tiny, she did take out La Rosa Negra for that title.
That is true.
A monumental task, because La Rosa held that title for about a year.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely not count Jasmine out at all. And one thing we've learned about Jasmine is she always has a couple tricks up her sleeves, So it's not like you're just watching out for Jasmine. You have to probably watch out for other people too.
Yeah.
And they might look alike.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think Jasmine and Holiday is going to be a great match. Yes, Holiday has a intense style about her matches. I mean, every match that I've seen Holiday wrestle, everyone is standing on their feet during the whole match, it seems.
Mm-hmm.
And she gets a standing O almost every time. And she's just intense, And I mean, Front Row, you interviewed her in Buda at Locked and Loaded before the match start, and she was just intense in the interview.
I'm still not over it, by the way.
You still have nightmares. I remember you telling me the other day you still have nightmares about that.
It's true.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, she's just intense, and she brings it. And Jasmine Allure, I've seen her wrestle live too. She brings it. So yeah, it's just gonna be an interesting match. And it's interesting to see who's gonna come out on top on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, so the whole show is going to be exciting. There's other matches too. We've got La Rosa's facing Nova Phoenix. That's going to be interesting. Nova's like 6 feet tall.
Yeah.
She's a big, strong person, and La Rosa's got all the talent and the experience. So that's going to be a match of styles. Any other? So we're coming up on the hour, Brian. I want to be respectful of your time. Anything else that you wanted to share with us about Mission Pro? Anything exciting coming up?
We got this August 20th, and then the September show, and then the December show. We're working on trying to get some other venues too to try to maybe plug in a show or two here and there, and then we're gonna sit down and see what next year has in store for us, and hopefully I can't really say who we might be working with, but we might be working with another promotion or two to try to bring more attention to women's wrestling, and then don't forget the Maddie and Ray, the Bougie Reality.
Oh, right. Yeah.
They are the new tag team champions, and I don't want to disrespect the new champions, especially Maddie, who's coming back from another person with a hand injury. So I want to really see what they have in store and how their reign is going to go about.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing, because I remember when Rashe and Maddie were put together as a tag team and in wrestling, it's that whole, can they coexist, and sort of a thrown together tag team. But boy, they quickly found their groove, and month over month, they started racking up a lot of experience and some wins. And when we were in Conroe this last time, and when they won the titles and took the titles off the twins, it was a hell of a match. I remember that being the match that even to the last second, you didn't know who was going to win. It was such an evenly matched battle that I was very excited to see them win.
Yeah, and then one thing I like to point out about Ray Shea and Maddie too is I think over the last maybe year and a half that they haven't improved more than anybody on that roster tremendously, and they've kind of done it at the same time. So they're meeting at the top. So it's going to be really interesting to see them keep improving and what's in store for them, because I think once they get going, it's going to be really, really hard to get those titles off of them.
Right.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. I even have one of Rashe's combs behind me, so rooting for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a big group of us are getting together. We're putting our travel arrangements together. I think we'll be descending upon Texas for the December show. I think it's December 10th. That looks like it's going to be pretty exciting. We may see a Dave LaGreca appearance there. Who knows what that card's going to look like, but it's going to be exciting. Anybody who has the ability to drive, fly, walk, crawl, get to a Mission Pro show, you will have a good time. Most of the folks in our group have either attended them, and we've all watched them online, but being there in person is very, very exciting.
Yes, I would love to be able to go to one show. I unfortunately can't really afford to travel to Texas, but I'm hoping that sometime next year you guys come up towards the Northeast. There's lots of wrestling in Jersey.
Sweet.
And I'd go to Jersey for you, so that's how special Mission Pro is.
As long as you bring my program.
All right. Well, Brian, we appreciate you joining us tonight. Anything else you want to add before we let you go?
No, just stay safe out there, everybody, and enjoy wrestling.
That's right.
All right, man. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Later, Brian.
Bye.
Awesome.
Cool.
Great shit. Great catching up with Brian. Lots of stuff going on at Mission Pro. Guys, anything else you want to cover before we go tonight?
Just watch wrestling. Enjoy wrestling. It's been a big topic this week about fans being super negative. So I just want to remind everybody of something. I think Dave and Bully were talking about it on Busted Open either last week or the week before. Just, don't be a negative wrestling fan. If you want other people to get into wrestling, let them see how great wrestling is, not just constantly cutting everything down. So that's it.
Yeah, and to your
Yeah.
point, like, a lot of folks are in the Discord and we have good, honest discussions, and they're generally pretty respectful. But when stuff is bad in wrestling, like, people are negative about it. And this last 2 weeks, I have seen more positive conversations across all the channels. It's been very exciting.
And I'll be the first one to say that, I was very, like, not always negative, but just very disappointed is the word I always use in the WWE product. I wanted them to make me watch, but they just weren't compelling enough. And now, like we talked about earlier, it's starting to get compelling enough for me to watch. And that's a great thing.
Agreed.
Oh yeah. And I just want to echo that sentiment. Just be a fan. Hashtag be a fan. The wrestling world is full of lots of different types of people. And one thing amongst all the different outlooks, different beliefs, whatever, there is a common denominator: pro wrestling. And, if people learn to enjoy pro wrestling as a whole, there's going to be good things, there's going to be bad things. Can't please everybody all the time.
Right.
But just roll with the punches. Go with the flow. I've been a fan since '85. I say '85. That's a good number to say, because I can remember things back in the mid '80s. And I gravitated away from it, but I always come back to it. And now I feel like I'm the strongest I've ever been as a wrestling fan.
Oh yeah,
And
for sure.
granted I have friends, and you know who you are, who help keep my fandom going. You two, you're a part of that. So yeah, just be a fan.
Yeah.
That's what I want to say. Just
And
be a fan.
sorry, I want to piggyback on that a little bit also. Is, there's this whole, like, I don't know if it's just because of social media, but there's this whole thing nowadays of so many fans, like, just want to, like, act like they're in the know, or, be the first one to break news when they see something on the dirt sheets. They have to go run and tell everybody else. I think in a certain way that, like, takes away from the fandom. Like we saw Hit Row come out, that wouldn't have been enjoying for me if I had seen that on some dirt sheet because I was scouring the internet for spoilers. So, things like that about, constantly reading rumors or wanting so hard to just be in the know, it tends to ruin the actual being a fan.
Yeah, agreed. And, we're fortunate to have friends in wrestling, but most of the folks that we know are very careful not to spoil stuff for us. It's okay to know some of the stuff, but, like, I don't want to know who's coming out or storylines, right? Like, let us all, like, enjoy that stuff together. And I agree. So I think Andreas and Mark were talking about on the show today about how we are spoiled for choice as fans. If you don't like this, there's 3 other things that are probably going to interest you.
Exactly.
So just find what you like and watch it and enjoy it.
And that's awesome.
So I do want to give a big thanks to Brian for joining us tonight. And you can go check out Mission Pro Wrestling. Check out their YouTube channel across all the social medias. Keep an eye on everything that they have going on for upcoming things. I don't know what's happening in September. He gave us a few hints. We'll have to wait and see. Again, we don't want to know. Don't spoil the surprises. And we're going to have a good time. So, Deb, where can folks find you on the socials?
At That's So Debonair on the Twitter machine, and at Truth Resists Simplicity on the Instagram.
Tony?
You at Tony Justice, AJFA, on Twitter. And if you're a Metallica fan, you know what that means.
We do. And I am PW Front Row. You can find us on Twitter at Nation's Corner and across all other social platforms at The Nation's Corner. Folks, appreciate everybody joining us. We'll see you all next week. Have a great week.